Good afternoon. This is the Board of County Commissioners meeting. It is Tuesday, January 9th, 2024. This is our first meeting of the year. Happy New Year to everyone. It is 2:06 p.m. and I'm calling this meeting to order. I'm Carolina Mejia. I'm the chair of the board. To my right is Vice Chair Ty Menser, as well as Commissioner Wayne Premier. To my left is Commissioner Gary Edwards, as well as Commissioner Emily Klaus. We'll start our meeting today with the pledge. Also in the boardroom, before I move forward, we have Interim County Manager Robin Campbell, as well as Assistant County Manager Rob Elder. Clerk of the board, we have Katie and we have Carly joining us today as we fill in that role. We'll start our meeting off with the Pledge of Allegiance to be led by Vice Chair Premier.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Next, Vice Chair Menser, would you like to do a land acknowledgement?
Thank you, Madam Chair. We would also like to start today with the land acknowledgement. We would like to acknowledge and thank the Indigenous Salish peoples whose elders and ancestors have lived on and cared for the land and waterways of this county since time immemorial, and who still inhabit the area today. Specifically the Squaxin Island, Nisqually, and Chehalis people, our sovereign tribal partners. Truth and acknowledgement are critical to building mutual respect and connection across all barriers of heritage and difference. The purpose of this acknowledgement is to disrupt ongoing erasure of injustices done and to remember history as a stepping stone towards healing.
Thank you. Next on our agenda is the approval of the Tuesday, January 9th, 2024 agenda. There have been several changes since this morning, and I will pass it over to the county manager to review those changes.
Thank you, Commissioner. Changes since this morning for the January 9th agenda. Item 6B was moved to today's consent agenda. That's an emergency services item. Under your consent agenda, a number of applicants were moved to approve for serving on your boards and commissions. Those include the LTAC, Lodging Tax Advisory Committee appointment for Alan Pogue, the Planning Commissioner appointment for Daniel Bumbarger, the Timberland Regional Library appointment for Dustin Loop, and 3 appointments to the Treatment Sales Tax Advisory Committee, including Garrett Cady, Diana Cockerell, and Jennifer Creighton, and also an appointment for the Historic Commission, Ira Kitmacher. And I apologize if I got any of those names wrong. Then there were items A through C from the proposed January 16th agenda, moved to today's consent agenda, and item fourth item from the January 16th agenda for the clerk's office was moved to a department item today. So those are all the changes that I am aware of.
Thank you. Any questions about the changes?
I'm just looking for that item to make sure the one that was moved from the 16th to the 9th, but kept as a or moved to a department item. I can't remember what that item was, but
It's from the
Pay issue?
clerk's office, I think.
clerk's office.
Yeah.
Is that in here?
Don't see it.
And that was time sensitive.
Yeah, that's what they.
See it here.
So it is not on the agenda, but we can,
So I would request that the board add an item to the agenda, and I'm going to,
so we'll add this on our agenda as item 10. Or item 11A. Under department items, under the clerk's office, and this is a resolution extending the end date for position 05R01489 in the Thurston County Pay and Classification Pay Plan. And this is the clerk's judicial information specialist, and it's with an end date of December 31st, 2024. So that will be now item 11A. That means our standing items will now be number 12.
You want to just keep it here?
Okay. Questions, comments?
Madam Chair, I would move to approve today's agenda with the additions to the consent calendar as outlined by the interim county manager, and the addition of item 11 under the clerk, with then the corresponding movement of item 11 to become item 12, A through C. And the clerk's item to be dealing with the resolution extending the end date for a position under the Thurston County Pay and Classification Pay Plan.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone against? Any abstentions? Okay, the agenda has now been approved. Before we move on, I will make an announcement that the meeting for January 16th at 2 p.m. has been canceled, being that there were, those consent items have now been moved into our agenda for Tuesday, January 9th. There is a public hearing at 3:30 that remains, and that public hearing next week, or next Tuesday, is for Community Planning and Economic Development, a public hearing for CPA 16 Agricultural Code Update. Okay, we will move on with a presentation, and this is a presentation for Martin Luther King Jr. Day Proclamation.
thank you, Commissioners. Today, the board will adopt a proclamation which recognizes the work of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and all of the work that he did in support of civil rights, human rights, and forwarding equity and social justice in our nation. And I'm very happy to introduce Reverend David Reeves, who would like to say a few words to the board.
Thank you. Let me just take a moment just to say thank you to the Thurston County Commission, and certainly to each of you. It's always a privilege to be here this time of year. We recognize, of course, the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King as someone who provided the kind of intangible contributions to, of course, our nation, and certainly set an example for our world to follow. We're grateful that Thurston County continues to acknowledge the work of the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., and we are hopeful that we'll continue on in acknowledgement of this work, but also continuing on in doing the work. Certainly on January 15th, Monday of this coming week, we'll be joining together with individuals from the city of Lacey, the city of Olympia, the city of Tumwater, and certainly there will be those of you who are from the commission who will be present with us at the New Life Baptist Church at 1:00 p.m. as we, of course, celebrate our countywide celebration and certainly acknowledge Dr. King and those who, like him, continue to join this fight of equity and certainly a fight for inclusivity. So thank you so very much, and just know that we continue to remain grateful and hopeful that we'll continue to do better and be better as a result of these works.
Dr. Jackson?
I join Reverend Reeves in thanking you for again, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, for again recognizing and proclaiming Martin Luther King Day. You've done it over the years, and you continue to do it. And with us living in a time where we are challenged with issues of trying to protect our democracy, trying to regroup and regain a lot of lost territory as it comes to still fighting for voting rights, still fighting for civil rights, still fighting for human rights in this country. So this acknowledgement of Dr. King's holiday reminds us of his life and his legacy and what he stood for and what he worked for. And so with this proclamation that we'll share with the rest of our community, we acknowledge the county's support of the kind of values and the kind of life Dr. King lived in hopes that we can live up to the standards and the challenges that he placed before us. So again, thank you for today's proclamation.
Thank you. Okay, we do have a proclamation, but I want to open it up to the board. If they have any comments at this time?
Yeah, I mean, I'll pipe up, I never be quiet, so why start now, right? I just think it's very timely. I realize that we try to do this every year, but it is especially timely that faced with the strife that we are faced with as a society right now, trying to follow up on the direction that Dr. Martin Luther King gave us in that whole attempt at a peaceful solution to differences, I guess is the best way I can put it. And I would hope that we can find that common ground using Dr. King as the guiding light to make that all happen. Thank you.
Thank you.
Real quick, I just would thank, I want to thank the members of our Racial Equity Council and who are helping the county forge forward on this difficult task and work. And we're hoping to prioritize this as never before in 2024. And Dr. Jackson, thank you for being here too. Your keynote speech at the YWCA event last month was really, really informative and inspiring. A lot of detail about your personal journey and some of the things that you've done. And we're just lucky to have you here in Thurston County, so thank you. That's all I got.
I'll chime in too a bit here. Dr. Jackson, it's really great to see you. Thank you both for your comments today. And then kind of just to echo what Commissioner Menser has said about both thanking our Racial Equity Council, as well as Dr. Jackson echoing also how informative your speech was at the YWCA event. I was also in attendance there and learned a lot that I didn't know before about Dr. Martin Luther King through your stories. And I just want to encourage everyone who's listening to really, really dig into the history of Dr. Martin Luther King. Every year I ask anybody around me to please look into the history, because a proclamation is great. I'm really proud that we are going to participate in this proclamation today. However, without going deeper, proclamations can sometimes be just like the icing on the cake, but with no cake. So I want to make sure that everybody in our community truly looks into the history of Dr. Martin Luther King to understand how we can apply those same concepts to the challenges that we face today. So thank you.
I can't add anything that hasn't already been said wonderfully. So, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Jackson, for being here today. Reverend, thank you so much. I do want to highlight that, you are having an event at 1 p.m. on Monday, and there's also going to be an event at Puget Sound Community College on Friday at 6 p.m. for those members of the community who are interested in learning more about, Dr. Martin Luther King and his work and the work being done in the community as well. I felt like, 4 years of my life was spent in Memphis, Tennessee, where Dr. King's shadow was an ever-present memory. It was an ever-present beacon, I'll say, of that time in our history and that acknowledgement, and really appreciative of the work being done in this community by leaders such as yourselves, because you are the beacons in this community and you've done such great work and you're highlighting that work through multiple sources. You have your book, which is just such a great historical context of Thurston County. So just thankful for that. I am ready for a proclamation, sir.
Yes, ma'am. Thurston County Proclamation, Martin Luther King Jr. Day. Whereas Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., born January 15, 1929, devoted his life to advancing equality, social justice, and human rights, and began the never-ending work of building a more perfect union. And whereas the Reverend Dr. King embraced the practice of nonviolent civil disobedience, but was assassinated on April 4th, 1968, and Martin Luther King Jr. Day was signed into law in 1983, then first observed in 1986. And whereas the Reverend Dr. King's legacy includes landmark federal laws such as the Civil Rights Act of 1964, the Fair Housing Act of 1968, and his message, which evolved over time from voting and desegregation to labor rights and peace for all, is still viable today. And whereas the Board of County Commissioners continues its tradition of observance of Dr. King's teachings and hopes to end bigotry, segregation, and discrimination in our country, and to foster equal opportunity for all. And whereas the Board of County Commissioners recognizes the work and efforts of Dr. King is not done, and we as leaders and public servants must reaffirm in every generation the lessons of justice, equity, and the nourishment of every individual's dignity and self-respect. And whereas the Board of County Commissioners encourages all people to join in a rededication to the principles of equality and justice for all. Now, therefore, be it resolved, the Board of Thurston County Commissioners, in observance of the federal holiday, hereby proclaims Monday, January 15th, 2024, as Martin Luther King Jr. Day in Thurston County, and encourages all citizens to join in the recognition. The Board of Thurston County Commissioners further encourage citizens to follow Dr. King's mission of service to others by participating in projects that will benefit the community. Adopted this 9th day of January 2024 by the Board of County Commissioners.
You paused.
Yeah.
So we will have the proclamation ready for you on Monday when I go to the event, but was wondering if you would be willing to take a picture with us.
If I may add, please, joining Reverend Reeves and I here today is my husband, Nat. Nat Jackson, would you join us here, please?
Okay.
And let me
Tell us
just
where the jump rope is.
just further comment that with the words contained in that proclamation, which are most fitting, it is most unfortunate that Martin Luther King holiday has turned into a day off and a day of service. And the things you express in that proclamation aren't the things that we're emphasizing in our communities anymore. So thank you for including those words in your proclamation. Thank you.
Okay, Nat. I have to put my hat on because otherwise they won't be able to tell us apart. So. That day's coming, sir.
All right, y'all, I'm the official photographer today, so go ahead and scoot yourselves in like you like each other. There we go. All right. 1, 2, 3. Nice. Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Did you really? Good for you.
Okay. Thank you. That will conclude our presentation for today. Next, there's an opportunity for the public to address the board. The Board of Thurston County Commissioners welcomes comments from the public. However, there are some guidelines governing such comments to ensure they are appropriate and do not take advantage of the fact that most meetings are televised. The general speaking guidelines are as follows. Please introduce yourself, including the address you reside in the county. Please address the board, not the audience or staff. Please silence your cell phones for those members in the boardroom. Speakers are limited to a total of 4 minutes to address the board. Meeting attendees cannot donate their speaking time to another person. No comments that are lewd and offensive, inflammatory, hateful, defamatory, or discriminatory in nature. Please be respectful. No outburst of any kind. No comments that are commercial in nature, such as promotion of a for-profit business. All materials provided to the county may be considered public records, subject to public release upon request, pursuant to the Public Records Act, Chapter 4256 of the RCW. No remarks about pending land use permits or similar matters that could eventually come before the board on appeal. Thank you so much for your cooperation. I will start with the sign-up sheet, and then if you did not get a chance to sign up and you're here in the boardroom, I'll let you go, and then we will move on to Zoom. The first person on the sign-up sheet is John Pettit.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is John Pettit. I live in East Olympia. Welcome to 2024. I consider this to be a year of accountability. She's trying to get it started. You might help her. Okay, there we go. Okay, so I wrote a little letter in regarding some issues, as I usually try to send things in advance. And today I dropped off something about the number of minutes that you actually have recorded and is available for the public to review. So I'm going to start and I'm going to first of all lead to one other thing first. This is your agenda. You've amended it. Okay. I made a comment and sent in a little word to a few people here about the fact that there's no supporting documents created that actually align with letting the public have any access to the information that you're making decisions on. You have a secret government thing? We'll just keep it all secret and we'll just vote on it, tell you what we're voting on and vote on it? You shouldn't even be voting on any of this. The interim county manager tried to do a cover-up. Oh, there's a question whether we got a proper notice. The issue wasn't that this isn't a proper notice. The issue was that you don't provide information. When you don't provide information, it means you don't respect the public. Now that'll take me to another very short topic, which is, then you decided to cancel next week's meeting. You actually think this meeting is about you guys. It's not. It's about the public having the opportunity to make public comment. Yeah, isn't that a shock? RCW 4230-070. If at any time during regular meeting falls on a holiday such as regular meetings shall be held the next business day. What's a regular meeting in Thurston County? You've declared every meeting regular meetings in Thurston County. But every meeting, in turn, also is required to have a minutes. Now, the document I sent out there earlier is out of the hundreds of meetings you had this last year, you have 40 minutes that are available for the public. Where's the rest of them? Since the new commissioners just came on board, you've had a lot of meetings. Where's the minutes? You're responsible for making sure the minutes get into the process. It's an intentional act to not allow the public to have access to this information. Now, under your county code, Minutes and records. The minutes of all regular and special meetings except executive sessions of the board shall be promptly recorded, and such records shall be open to the public inspection. Is that true? Or have you failed to do that? Massively failed. In fact, if you wanted to know what happened in a certain meeting, you wouldn't be able to know. And now you have a new clerk. So the old clerk's gone. Where's these records? Let's get the records up or some resignations made. You guys are the executives making decisions, not them. You guys are responsible. Regular meetings? Well, I thought I will drop this off too, but this just shows the last 3 months. You have a list of every single meeting you guys had. All of these, everyone needs to have a minutes. Your regular format for minutes uses your form for your agenda. You don't even make regular agendas. You just mention a topic. That's not an agenda. This is an agenda. This is where you make your notes as to who makes comments. Lacking all of that, complete failure in honoring the public's right to know. I want to see improvement. Thank you. I'm going to distribute these over here to the clerk so they can make sure you get a copy of these things. Apparently you're not familiar with the county code or the state laws.
Thank you. Next is Joe Hanna.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Thank you for the opportunity to be here. I guess I question thanking it, but I will thank you for the opportunity to be here. I have one thing I want to do today, and that's read you RCW 9A 68.010, bribery. 1, a person is guilty of bribery if A, with the intent to secure a particular result in a particular matter involving the exercise of the public servant's vote, opinion, judgment, exercise of discretion, or other action in his or her official capacity, he or she offers, confirms, or agrees to confer any pecuniary benefit upon such servant, or B, being a public servant, he or she requests, accepts, or agrees to accept any pecuniary benefit pursuant to an agreement or understanding that his or her opinion, judgment, exercise of discretion, or other action as a public servant will be used to secure or attempt to secure a particular result in a particular matter. And 2, it is no defense to a prosecution under this section that the public servant sought to be influenced was not qualified to act in the desired way, whether because he or she had any yet assumed office, lacked jurisdiction, or for any other reason. 3, bribery is a Class B felony. So I think I was able to deliver that to you in a calm, not hostile manner. I think I was able to deliver that to you in a professional manner, and I think I was able to deliver that to you being sane in mind. Thank you.
Thank you. Those are the 2 people. Is there anyone else? Go ahead, Mr. Trowbridge.
I'm Brett Trowbridge. I live on Patterson Lake. The county's going ahead with the project on Patterson Lake. The vote's been completed, and we're being taxed now starting this year. For some reason, even though what's actually happening is that the plan is that we're going to dump an human carcinogen into our drinking water source, it's going ahead anyway. Don't look away. You know, that's what you guys are voting for. So I want to let both of the new commissioners know that this is crazy. The Department of Health, who are the people who came up with the McAllister Springs zone, and now they're the ones pushing to dump poison in it and charge us for it, and even to do it on the properties that were left out of the lake, which includes my wife's 500-foot section. You want to poison that too, even though we weren't included in the process. So you put up all sorts of smoke. Well, we won't really do that. We'll decide later whether we're going to do that. We're really going to pull the weeds. No, you're not. This is a glyphosate project from the very beginning. the county's been dumping glyphosate in Long Lake, Hicks Lake, Black Lake, Lawrence Lake for 20 years. And the current commissioners can say, well, that's not our fault. We were grandfathered into that. But this one here, Patterson Lake, is these three commissioners have come up with this to dump it in the McAllister Springs district. Now, Commissioner Minster told me he didn't know much about the Patterson McAllister Lake district. Let's go over it again. Back in the 1980s, the county commissioners at that time, primarily Diane Oberquell, decided that if we were going to be getting our drinking water from McAllister Springs, now called McAllister Wellhead, that we should be protecting the water that goes into that aquifer. And I'm not talking about surface runoff. Everybody says, oh, well, it goes down the stream to Henderson Inlet. Well, the surface water does, but the groundwater goes into McAllister Springs, and that's not true of any of those other lakes. So don't include our lake in your big cacophony of lakes that you're dumping this in, because we're the one area that is in it. Our lake and Lake St. Clair are the ones that should be protected. And what they're supposed to be protected from is nitrates. The argument back then, 40 years ago, was that there's already a lot of nitrates in our groundwater. And if we get too many nitrates, it's unhealthy to human health. And so we wanted to have less sewage, and that's why we have our current zoning of 1 house per 5 acres. So what happens if you take glyphosate and you kill all the lily pads in the lake every year for 10 years? You're releasing nitrates, right? And what happens to those? They go down into the groundwater and they go to McAllister Springs. So you guys are going to be voting in the next few months, your vote along with a citizens committee about pollution and pesticides. And it's a major environmental decision, probably the most major one you're going to be making while you hold this office. Are we going to poison McAllister Springs with glyphosate? And you guys are going to have that vote in a few months, and you should be sure to decide specifically on Patterson Lake and not say, oh, on all the lakes, this is what we're going to do, because we've always done it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else in the boardroom? Okay, moving on to Zoom and Assistant County Manager
Yes.
Gelder, do you have your laptop?
I've got it.
So-
So I'll call the people on the screen who I do not recognize as county employees. And the first person is Thad Kurtz. Go ahead, Mr. Kurtz, you may unmute yourself.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, sir, we can.
Yes, we can.
Great. I'm Thad Kurtz. I live in Olympia. I wanted to say that I'm pleased that you are considering going ahead and joining King County in establishing the Switches On website. This seems to me like a very cost-effective and sensible way to proceed on trying to develop some resources for citizens who are interested in electrifying their houses or making them more sustainable. What I want to say today is that I think this is really a very small first step, and that it will not really get us to dealing with what I think are the main problems that people who are interested in trying to do something like this face. One of my neighbors recently got 4 bids to put a heat pump into his house to replace his gas furnace. The bids he got ranged from $24,900 to $11,800. The equipment that he was quoted ranged from a setup that would have produced 48,000 BTUs of heat to one that would have produced 20,000 BTUs of heat. And the system that produced the least heat was not the cheapest one. So it gets extremely complicated for somebody who is just trying to think about how to do this, to sort out that situation. I recently got 2 bids for putting in a heat pump hot water heater to replace my gas water heater. One of them was over $5,000 without the water heater. The other one was $3,800. Again, that's a pretty big difference. So there are, I think, at least 2 things that are really important that I hope you will move rapidly forward to try to develop. One is a list of vetted contractors. I understand this is politically complicated, but you ought to do whatever you can, I think, to try to make it easy for citizens to find somebody who is technically competent and competitively priced to do work like this. The second, maybe even more important thing that I think citizens need is help in sorting out the options when they're presented with $48,000 versus $20,000 versus, 48,000 BTUs versus 20,000 BTUs, or $25,000 versus versus $12,000. They need some sophisticated professional help in thinking about what their options are and why the differences in those bids are significant, if they are significant, and how to make some of these choices. It looks to me as if PSE may be getting ready to do something that will help with this. I hope that the county will consult with them and see whether it's possible for you to do something again in collaboration with them. But I hope you'll really take this issue seriously and do what you can to move beyond the first step of having a switches on website. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Happy New Year to you.
And to you, sir. Thank you very much. The next person I have on the screen is Wayne Olson.
Thank you. I had not planned to make a comment. I was just listening in today, but I do concur with Thad Kurtz's comments. That the switches on campaign looks very appealing to me, and I hope you proceed and join in. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And last I have Liv Mathena. Need a moment to see if they unmute. No, so everyone else on the screen is a county employee.
Okay, not seeing any more hands up. You're gonna make public comment?
Well, I'm not going to make public comment, but I wonder if I could ask a question of either the chair or the interim county manager, just to make sure if a citizen on the screen was a county employee, they are also capable of making
Absolutely.
comment should they want to, and I just didn't want to cut anybody off. So that was just.
Yes, thank you for bringing that up.
Thank you.
I don't call on county employees because generally they
Their work,
are here to present items on your agenda, but they are, if any of them would like to make public comment, they should raise their hand.
Okay,
And
thank
we
you.
would call on them.
And it doesn't look like they are, but I didn't want to scare them away.
No.
Thank
Of
you.
course, thank you. Okay, not seeing any hands, not in the boardroom and not via Zoom. Okay, well, that will conclude public comment, and we will move to county manager's update.
Thank you. I have no updates at this time.
Any questions for the county manager?
It's time, thank you.
Okay, we have consent agenda. We have items 3A through 3L. Is there an item on the consent agenda that commissioners would like to remove? Okay, I'm not hearing anything. Is there a motion?
Move to approve consent items 3A through 3L.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. I'll call for the vote.
Commissioner Edwards.
Aye.
Commissioner Menser. Commissioner Mejia.
Aye.
Commissioner Klaus.
Aye.
Commissioner Fournier.
for the ease of this, I will just go ahead and instead of taking individual votes, I will call for all of them together and just as we're processing this. Okay. Next, moving on to department items. First from the Commissioner's Office. Item 4A is the 2024 election of officers for the Board of County Commissioners. And Robin Campbell, County Manager, will present this item.
Thank you, Commissioner. So this is an annual occurrence of the election of officers for the Board of County Commissioners. So I would invite commissioners, if you have a nomination of who you would like as chair of the board for 2024. Nominations?
I would nominate Commissioner Menser as chair and Commissioner Fournier as vice chair. Is that what you were looking
Yep.
for?
And do we have second?
I'll second.
All right. So go ahead with your normal process then on discussion and a motion.
You have to ask for nominations for 3 times.
For the, I'm sorry, for the what?
Yeah, no? Yeah, okay. Okay, so there's been a nomination for Commissioner Menser as the chair and Commissioner Fournier as the vice chair. It's been moved and seconded. So any discussion at this time?
No, ma'am.
I just thank Commissioner Mejia for doing a great job, and I didn't do my normal 2-year term of duty. I wriggled out of it after a year and asked her to take over in 2022, and she did, and appreciate that. You've done a great job.
Thank you.
I'll second that.
I'll add to it as well. I didn't have a comment, but now I do. I just want to say thank you, Commissioner Mejia. I've learned a lot from you as chair, and I look forward to, in the future, having my own opportunity and using what I've learned. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, I guess I'll just, I'll thank the board for the opportunity. It's been, I feel like a trial by fire, taking over as chair in my 2nd year, but really appreciative of the opportunity I was given, and thankful to staff. I want to thank Robin, especially Ramiro, who's no longer here, but and really to just the Commissioner's Office for helping out really these past 2 years and really supporting me. I'm excited to pass on the baton and pass this on to the new chair. So just a huge thank you to really, and Rob, as you've come on, your support to me as well. Just really appreciative. So with that, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone against? Are you serious?
I don't know.
Any abstentions? Okay, it passes 5-0.
Okay, well, let's move on then.
Passing the baton.
Item 4B is 2024 Commissioners' Representation and Assignments on Boards and Commissions. And our, not assistant, but interim county manager, Robin Campbell, can you give us an overview of what we're doing on this item?
Yes, thank you. So this item is, reflects the conversation that the board had on November, I believe it was November 29th, where commissioners tentatively agreed to assignments on the various boards and commissions throughout the county that commissioners serve on. So those assignments are part of this agenda. They have been published, and we recommend to you that you take formal action on the representation.
questions about this item from the board? Is there a motion?
I move to approve the confirmation of the 2024 Board of County Commissioners representation and assignments to boards and commissions.
Second.
Commissioner Edwards there on a second, so we have a motion and a second to confirm the board and commission assignments. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes. And if I do not call for a roll call vote and someone we would like to have one, just let me know. We'll do that. But I think there's a lot of things where we